welcome back to another Commander Deck Tech. My name is Scott, and we have the god of Carnage itself, Drivnod. Drivnod's been really interesting. It's probably the easiest conceptually to think about when it comes to what should go in this deck, but actually it turned out to be the hardest one to build, only because Aristocrats is a very, very supported archetype. You get to play a few cards that you probably wouldn't play in a normal Aristocrats, or you might play them, but you get that additional kind of trigger, which is really, really nice, because a lot of it, remember, is when a creature's dying and it triggers your permanent. So as long as it's, you know, your opponent's creature's dying, your creature's dying, we don't care, but as long as it's triggering your opponent. So you get a few extra options, but it's really difficult because Aristocrats is very well supported. So although I've gone through and chosen my kind of configuration, there's going to be really a lot of variation. I mean, you're going to have your core cards, but you can always add in some nice spice in these ones, just because there's lots of variety of cards to choose from. So of course, you know, we want to be doubling those triggers, so I've really opted for anything that you know, will trigger from Drivnod, so keep that in mind. I think the exiling the creatures is perfectly alright to do, quite easy to do. I did opt not to run a lot of token generation, something that you might do in Aristocrats deck. I really opted for creature cards, obviously, so that I do have options to exile them and then not really have a reanimation package. Sometimes I'll play like Living Death or something like that and just bring back all those cards. I haven't really opted for that because, you know, I'll be exiling for indestructible counters. So yeah. So let's go through the deck. Drivnod. I guess first you could also go Voltron with this. You know, 8/3 is pretty big. I didn't really, again, also go with that. Really, I've just kept to the Aristocrats. I think if you go down that route, you really have to keep going down that route. And I think any kind of mixture between the two gonna kind of make it a bit haphazard. Your deck's not really gonna go anywhere or do anything really well. So you could go that route, but I would say stick to that route rather than Aristocrats. But then you might as well play Yargle. So cool. All right, now let's go through the deck. All right, so first up, you know, the Aristocrats package, I guess. We want death triggers. So these are the things that are in here purely just to double trigger. There are a lot of other cards that will be in here to double trigger, but they will serve other things like removal and ramp and things like that. These ones really only serve the purpose to double trigger. So of course, Blood Artist, very, very good. Life gains, really, really nice, and start hitting our opponents for their life. Bloodghast, just a simple creature that I want to sacrifice over and over. This one doesn't trigger with Drivnod, but it allows for a creature to continuously keep coming back, which I really, really love. I always play these kind of in my Aristocrats. Nether Trader, another one where it will just kind of keep coming back. Again, you know, we want that value. Reassembling Skeleton keeps coming back. Zulaport Gutthroat will double trigger with Drivnod, of course, and this is where the Bloodghast and the Reassembling Skeletons and the Nether Traders all come into effect really, really well with Zulaport. Age in the Iron Throne, one that I've been adding to my Aristocrats. We want to be playing our commander, that's for sure. So having this and each opponent losing one life has been really, really nice. Just kind of an enchantment sitting there, ready to go. Bastion of Remembrance, essentially another Zulaport Cutthroat on an enchantment. It comes with a token, which is nice. Vindictive Lich, not one I usually play with. I normally think that this doesn't really provide enough for what it's doing. 4/1 is definitely a good stat because, you know, you can skull clamp it, which is nice. But having this double trigger I found is really, really cool. So getting somebody that has a weak creature board state, having them sacrifice 2 creatures, taking 4 cards from someone, and taking 10 life from someone actually has been really good. Normally I wouldn't play this. I don't think it's valuable enough. But when you are doubling it, it's pretty nice. Junji, another one. So this one, when it dies, it's going to obviously trigger, and then we're going to get those effects, which is going to be really, really nice. We have some creatures that will obviously want to come back, some big creatures, but yeah, also getting people's, you know, cards, which is really, really nice. So this is essentially going to be what is it, 6 for 1 when it dies. So yeah, really, really cool. Sorry, not 6 for 1, 12 for 1, because you get 2 cards from each opponent, and then that doubles, right? So really, really cool. Revel in Riches serves as a win condition. So this is when opponents' creatures die, we will get treasure counters. So we will get 2 treasure counters because it is a permanent that we control that's triggering because a creature did die. So yeah, this one even serves as, if you really need ramp, if you need to work out some politics, you know, and convince them that you're not going to try and win with it, you want it to ramp, that's fine. This is going to be really, really nice. So Conrad, great, you know, our creatures are dying, which is our number 1 plan. They will also trigger from them being exiled from Drivnod's indestructible counter, so there's something there. But yeah, just ultimately just an additional trigger when creatures die. Kakusho, you know, this one's already great. Just getting that life gain is really, really nice to buffer our life totals, as well as start hitting opponents. But essentially, you know, you're going to be hitting opponents each for 10 and you're going to get 30. Pretty nice. Massacre Worm. I've said this in some videos recently, but I've really been upping my value in Massacre Worm. There's just really a lot of just small boards that just get cleaned up with this kind of effect. And of course, our opponent's creatures dying makes them lose 2 life, makes them lose 4 life. Really, really nice. Wormcoil Engine. So, I didn't own one before. What is it? Dominaria Remastered, that's it. So I'm glad I was able to get the reprint. So, you know, Death Tuft Lifelink, just great value, 6/6. It dies, you're going to make 4 tokens. So quite a lot of fun with this one, right? You're just going to essentially going to be like a Hydra where it doubles its head. So yeah, I really liked it. Just as great value. Okay, so those are the kind of things that we want to die. Now, how do we kill them? Of course, you need a sacrifice package when you are building these kind of decks. So Carrion Feeder is a good example of just something that we want free sacrifice outlets. We always want free ones so that we can do it whenever we need to. We don't really care about, okay, yes, you're going to get a counter, but we want to be sacrificing those creatures. So Carrion Feeder, nice for Sirisia. You get to scry, nice and cheap. Priest of Forgotten Gods, I've liked as well. You get some nice value with this one. So everyone's going to lose 2 life and they're going to sacrifice a creature. That's great. And you're going to get a bit of mana and draw a card, right? So it's quite nice. And we still have lots of creatures that we want to die. And still lots of little creatures. And just doing this once a turn has been, you know, great value. So I have quite liked it. Ashnod's Altar, obviously very, very good. Gets you 2 mana. That's fantastic. Ayara, First of Locthwain. So we have lots of black creatures obviously entering the battlefield. Things like Wormcoil Engine's not really going to work with it, obviously, but we do have a lot of black creatures, a lot of small black creatures. It also allows to tap and sacrifice it to draw a card, right? So, you know, you're going to sacrifice a creature, draw a card, just get that nice value. So it's kind of, sometimes it makes my sacrifice outlets, sometimes it doesn't, but I've liked the life gain, the small life gain. I've liked being able to draw cards. I like the sacrifice. Like, everything about this is just, it's not huge, but it's still good value. Phyrexian Altar, great. You'll get a mana. Woe Strider, free. You get to scry, so it's just bigger for Sirisia. And you also get to escape it, which is cool. Yeah, Henny, Undying Partisan. So opponent's creatures dying will give you +1/+1. So this, you know, will trigger, double trigger with Drivnod, and then so it also serves as sack outlet, right? So really, really great. Double kind of works in this deck as those kind of 2 core functions that we need. Yeah, I love Yenny. It's fantastic. Great deck, great card. And then Yawgmoth, Throne Physician. Draw cards, really what we want, as well as sacrificing a creature. Proliferate's not really too important. The indestructible counter usually doesn't need to be proliferated. You know, most people have just exiled it if they can, or else they just have to ignore it. So yeah, really, really nice. And then, all right, so just a small token package. We still want tokens, obviously, for some of our Aristocrats effects, so that we can start getting them to trigger. But I haven't opted for a lot of tokens. I think that might be in a bit of a different deck. Of course, you could go down a token route if you wanted. I think there's enough creatures, but you're really probably not going to hit Drivnod. There are other effects in black that kind of work off non-tokens, so I do find that tokens aren't as supported in Aristocrats as, say, a white Aristocrats, like a black-white one. So yeah, but you know, still have a small package. So Bitter Blossom, nice, simple, comes down nice and early and gets you a fairy, starts getting those blockers in if you need, or starts getting swing out. Then we have Ophiomancer, just a really, really great card. It helps to defend you. It also really, really works well with Yawgmoth, where you get to sacrifice the snake every turn, get a new snake, draw a card. So very good with Yawgmoth. Then Lolth, 2/1 spiders with menace and reach are fantastic to protect you. You can even draw if you need. The ultimate's not really relevant in this deck, so yeah, it's really just to get those creatures down on the battlefield and then hopefully start drawing. Then Tevish starts. I love this card. This card's so awesome. So +2 for 2 blockers, great. Now we don't really sacrifice our commander in this one, so it's really just sacrifice the creature, draw 2, and that's going up in loyalty. And of course, the ultimate is very threatening. People do not want this to go off, so it's constantly, hey, a threat. Oh, whoa, but I have heaps of blockers. You can't really get through me. It's going to cause death triggers. So yeah, Tevish Art, fantastic card. Okay, drawing. As I've kind of gone through, there are some cards that have already established some draw effects, but these ones are the cool ones. Obviously, Skull Clamp has to be the number 1 card in the deck, of course. Where a equipped creature dies, you draw 2 cards, and that will be 4 cards with Drivnod, which is just amazing value. We already have things like Bloodghast, Reassembling Skeleton, Nether Trader, Vindictive Lich. Those things just die straight off, right? They get their own double triggers, like with Vindictive Lich, and then this on top. Skull Clamp, fantastic. If I played tutors in these decks, I would be getting this. Urza's Saga is a land that I didn't put in this deck, but you could definitely opt to put in just to get this. Really fantastic card. Skull Clamp, fantastic. Everyone already knows it. Deadly Dispute, simple sacrifice. You get that treasure, so it pays back for itself, something that you can use in additional turns. And of course, sacrifice the creature, which is what I want. Plumb the Forbidden, another one. Deadly Dispute and Plumb Forbidden are the kind of those instant speed draw sacrifice creatures that I like. This one, you sacrifice 1 creature, draw a card, lose 2 life. Nice instant speed, but it gives me the option to sacrifice more than 1 and kind of see how far I can go. So I do like Plumb the Forbidden as that kind of style of card. Braid's Arisen Nightmare, I've said it in lots of videos since this has come out. This is just a fantastic card. People just don't want to sacrifice things. If you need to, you can start sacrificing lands or whatever you think will get you more cards. But even I find that creatures, some people just can't really sacrifice their creature, right? But then you'll get you might on average get 2 cards from this. Someone might sacrifice a creature, where I find if it's like artifacts, enchantments, planeswalkers, or lands, people will just let you have the card, right? Unless it was a late game, it was like turn 10 against Krenko, and I was sacrificing lands, and they were just they would top decking, they were okay to sacrifice the land. So you get those kind of scenarios, but still fantastic card. Fantastic. Dark Prophecy, live by the sword, die by the sword. So whenever a creature you control dies, so this will double trigger So keep that in mind. You know, you're going to be losing life as you draw cards, but these are things that we play when we are mono black. Alright, Grim Horror Specs, another one. So this one's non-token, obviously. Draw a card, which is fantastic, right? We're going to draw 2 cards when one of our non-token creatures dies. So, you know, Skull Clamp, your Blood Gasp. So good. Midnight Reaper, same thing, but you lose a life. So again, keep that in mind. I did die to Midnight Reaper and Dark Prophecy on my board, and someone Toxic Deluged. So still a fun game. Then Talisman of Nurgle, another one. So this one's just on the end step if a creature died, just to kind of continue to get that value. You might play like a Phyrexian Arena or something like that, but yeah, I like it because it is a creature that can be sacrificed if I need to. And of course, if it's 7 creatures died, then you know you're gonna get 7 cards, which is fantastic. Body Launderer. This one always is like the 105th card or something like that. It just sometimes doesn't make my Aristocrat, sometimes it does, and I'm just like, oh, I just always want to play it. But I really like this one, again, because you get the double trigger, which is really, really cool. Now, you know, you need to kind of sculpt your graveyard because you may be exiling some to Drivnod, but the Connive's really great for filtering that. It's conniving and putting those creatures in the graveyard so that Drivnod can have something to exile. So, you know, it's just been really, really nice. I've actually quite liked it in this one. The value of getting those creatures back has been nice. Harvester of Souls, another one where, yeah, usually these don't make my Aristocrats decks, but it is triggering twice. Pretty good. 6 mana, you know, I could see someone cutting that, no problems. And then Liliana Dreadhorde General. When a creature dies, draw a card, so draw 2 cards. And of course, it is also facilitating the fact that it can kill creatures, or it can make tokens, or its ultimate is pretty much game ending. So really, really nice. You know, one of the best planeswalkers in the format. Okay, some removal, simple removal. Defile, we play a lot of swamps, -1, -1s. Great for getting around other people's indestructible. So, you know, if other people playing Dominus, it's really, really nice for that. Tragic Slip, another one. Lots of creatures are dying of ours. So, you know, -13 essentially kills almost anything. Feed the Swarm gets around people's, you know, enchantments, propagandas, things like that. Maybe they have like Tainted Remedy or something like that, where you're gaining life, but then you're going to lose the life. I don't know. There are lots of enchantments that we want to kill. Meat Hood Massacre. Okay, I'm going to say this for board wipes. Board wipes is actually quite difficult to determine what to choose. Now, this one obviously triggers twice, which is really, really great. But it does serve the role of the board wipe. But do note, obviously, that your negatives, like your negative power, your negative toughness, will affect Drivnod and, you know, won't allow him to get around the indestructible nature of it. So in black, if you're opting for not using negative power and negative toughness, you know, it's actually, they're not that great. So I have got Meat Hook Massacre because it does obviously trigger twice, but you know, obviously keep that in mind. You know, anything 3 and above kills Drivnod. So, you know, Attrition, just a really, really nice one. Serves as an additional sack outlet. You know, I find that I have lots of sack outlets. So it's always nice to have one that serves another purpose, which is really, really great. Of course, only non-black creatures, but that's okay. 3 mana's fine. Damnation, so board wipe, that does obviously allow Drivnod to live. So what we want. Deadly Rollick, we do want to play our commander, so having this come out for free has been really, really nice. Grave Pact, okay, so, you know, assess your play group, obviously, but play Grave Pact, I really, really love. And of course, it will trigger twice. It's fun. Okay, Hagra Mauling, it's a land on the other side, so, you know, it's a bad murder, but it's a land. Cavalier of Night has been a fun one, so it comes in, it's going to serve as a sacrifice, it's going to destroy another creature that our opponent has. And then when it dies, it's going to return some of those small creatures, you know, so again, double trigger, so it serves that purpose. I do like Cavalier of Night. It is also one of my favorite arts, so you know. Dictate of Erebos, Grave Pact, so trigger twice. I love these cards. Okay, Shriek War, it kills itself. So that's a plus. It kills itself. It obviously has limited targets, non-artifact, non-black, but I do find that, you know, there's still relevant things to hit. But yeah, it is killing itself, which is, you know, what we want in Aristocrats. We want to kind of start getting that life drain down. Dark Ritual. So going into our ramp, just nice, simple, get that mana in our pool. Wayfarer's Bauble, get swamps onto the battlefield, nice and cheap. Arcane Signet, 2 mana rock. Mind Stone helps us draw a card as well as being 2 mana rock. Black Market Connections, fantastic card. I've been putting in all my decks. I usually go for the first 2 options normally. Now in this one you can go the other one depending on how much life gain I've got. Like if I've already established a Blood Artist or a Zulaport Cutthroat, then I might go for the additional Changeling, just because it helps with Aristocrats, but usually it's the first 2. Pawn of Ulamog, so it is serving the Aristocrats. These things sacrifice themselves to give us colorless mana, which is really, really nice, and essentially it's going to double trigger, right? So yeah, fantastic. Pitiless Plunderer, creatures are going to be dying. Our creatures are going to be dying. They're going to be turning into treasure, right? So really, really great normal Aristocrats. Sifter of Skulls, another one. When creatures dies, we get the Eldrazi token, and that can obviously sacrifice itself, right? So we're getting double tokens, and we're getting mana for it, right? So, and they're sacrificing themselves. Great. Solemn Simulacrum, another one that so enters, ramps us, but dies, draws us 2 cards, which is quite nice. And then the Golden Throne, I've been loving this in my Aristocrats decks. This is really cool. The first part of it just doesn't really come up too much. Normally it's destroyed before then, but just being able to sacrifice to essentially Dark Ritual, pretty good. I've quite liked it. And then Black Market, another one where I usually don't play this one, but we have a lot of creatures, and it's going to be getting double triggers, right? So this just gets really, really large really quickly. So yeah, I've liked this, even if it sticks around for a few turns. Okay. Just some like other categories that just have some minor cards in it. So a little recursion. I've been trying Vat of Rebirth. I really like in these Aristocrats decks. It's only 4, so 4 creatures need to die. Essentially with Drivnod, only 2. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it doesn't destroy itself, so it just kind of keeps coming back. Which is really, really nice. So I've liked this. Agadeem's Awakening, just simple recursion. Some of these creatures are just going to be sitting there in the graveyard. I don't have like Reanimate or Animate Dead or anything like that. So, I wanted this, and it's also a land. Pretty good. So Graveyard Hate, some Doughty Voidwalker. I pretty much put it in all my decks. Great for exiling, the cards that people are playing, as well as I can get to pick something nice that I want to cast, which is really, really cool if I need to. And then Malakir Rebirth, just some extra protection. When someone worm coils, tries to get rid of my worm coil, I can bring it back and I get double tokens, and then I get this thing back, and it's that kind of value that we're gonna really had. It's not really here for Drivnod because it has the indestructible counter, but yeah, and it's a land. Okay, the lands. Bajuka Bog, exiling people's graveyards, fantastic. Cabal Coffers, we play a lot of swamps, great for ramping. Cabal Stronghold, a lot of basic swamps in this deck, so still great for ramping, more of a late game card. Castle Lochthwain, we're playing a lot of cheap creatures. We want to kind of dump our hand, hopefully try to draw some more cards. This really helps with that. High Market, having a sacrifice outlet on a land is fantastic. Myriad Landscape, you know, we have a 5 mana commander. We need a little bit of an extra ramp, so this just gets those swamps onto the battlefield, which is really nice. Nykthos Shrine to Nyx, you know, there's a lot of like black in these mana costs, so you know, Devotion is actually easy enough to do on this, so great for ramping. Phyrexian Tower, fantastic to have a sacrifice outlet on a land, also gives us some mana. Strip Mine, always play a land destruction land in your deck, you know, whether it's a Ghost Quarter or Demolition Field has been really nice, but yeah, essentially somebody's going to play a Cabal Coffers, their own Nykthos, their Phyrexian Tower, you know, it's great to hit them with that. And then Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, turn everything into swamps. It's great for Defile and, you know, essentially Cabal Coffers. Then War Room, you know, cheap, just on a land. It's not really taking a slot, and if we need to draw a card, then, you know, we can draw a card, right? If we need to keep things open. And then the rest is swamps. So yeah, so that's my current build. I think Aristocrats is, you know, well supported. You can find a lot of options. There are a lot of interesting cards that will trigger off this, which has been great. So I've been enjoying Drivnod. Very interesting commander. Yeah, I think I mean, there's Taste of Karlov, right? So Taste of Karlov already exists. This effect already exists, but now we get to have it in mono black. I think it will fit in, you know, people's decks in the 99. Just ultimately a really fun card. Yeah, and I've been enjoying it. So yeah, that's my deck. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.